Why is it so hard to stay motivated? Some days we feel unstoppable and other days we cannot even start. If you're juggling a full-time job and a side hustle, sometimes it feels impossible to be driven, right? It feels impossible to push yourself. It feels impossible to stay motivated. But what if I told you that motivation is really not about willpower per se? It's about science. There is a scientific explanation behind motivation. So today I will break down what I learned about the psychology of motivation and share practical science-backed strategies to help you stay on track even when you don't feel like it. Hello there, welcome back to my channel. My name is Laura. I know how it can feel to try to push forward when motivation fades. Here is the thing, motivation is not something you wait for. It is something that you create. So in this video, I'll share 4 proven ways that has helped me boost motivation. And this is based on neuroscience and psychology, and it can 100% help you take action even on your worst days. Number 1 tip here is increasing dopamine and the motivation loop. So believe it or not, motivation is really not about discipline. It is chemical. So your brain releases dopamine when it kind of anticipates rewards, and that pushes you to take action. What is dopamine? In layman's terms, it is simply a chemical messenger that plays a key role in pleasure, in reward, and in motivation. So it influences how we seek rewards, how we feel pleasure, and how we stay motivated in order to take action. Dopamine is often referred to as the feel good or motivation chemical because it's really involved in reinforcing behaviors that bring pleasure and encouraging us to seek out rewarding experiences. Here's a mistake that most people make. They wait for motivation in order to take action. However, you need to take action in order to build or to create motivation. So in reality, taking action first is what triggers motivation. So neuroscientists, I always find it hard to pronounce that word. Well, neuroscientists have found out that your dopamine spikes once you make progress, not before. So once you make progress in an action, in your goals or whatever, then you have a spike in your dopamine levels or whatever, right? So that is indication that you are motivated. You feel good once you realize that you are making progress in your goals, in whatever it is you are working on at the moment. So people who actually struggle with motivation, and I can attest to that, they have figured out that once they start doing a task, once they start with small tasks, then their dopamine spikes up. They have momentum to keep doing it, right? So even if it's a 5-minute task, I would even go as far as saying, even if it's a 2-minute task, once you decide to start doing something for 2 minutes, give it at least 2 minutes, you're going to realize that momentum builds up and you will then be motivated to keep going. And like I said, this is absolutely true for me. When I start a task, I just want to keep going until I get it done. Most of the time, I'm not even gonna lie, I really do not feel motivated to work on my side hustle after work. But once I sit down and I start a task, I build that momentum, right, to get it done. And that is how motivation works. And one thing that actually helps me get started with a task when I really do not feel like doing anything, right? There's one thing that actually helps me get started before the dopamine actually kicks in. I'm going to ask myself, is this going to help me in the future? If the answer is yes, then I'm going to go ahead and do it. That drives me to get this stuff done, right? To go and start working on whatever task it is that I am working on with regards to my side hustle or whatever it is that I want to do. But if the answer is no, then maybe I can find another task or I can just lazy around, right? You can't do that every once in a while. And this is something that I learned from the book, The Art of Laziness by Library Mindset. I don't know what if that is a person or that is a group or an organization, whatever. But the title or the name of the book is The Art of Laziness. And I am telling you, this works every time. This actually gets me to start doing the task. And then once I am 2 minutes, 5 minutes in, dopamine strikes and I am motivated. My momentum kicks in and I am not going to stop until I get it done. So whenever you do not feel motivated, to work on your side hustle, go ahead and ask the question, will this help me in the future? Or you can reframe it however you want to suit your needs. You can't say, oh, will this help me grow my business? Or will this make me happy after I do it? And if the answer is yes, just do it. So what you want to do is trick your brain into releasing dopamine by setting micro goals. For example, rather than saying, I am going to create content, what you want to do is you can write a micro goal by saying, I am going to open my laptop and write one sentence. And most of the time, you 100% will not just write one sentence and close your laptop, right? Especially if you have stuff to do. So once you set that micro goal of you just opening your laptop, writing one sentence, that kicks up your dopamine, and then you are able to actually make progress in your tasks and get it done. So the act of starting triggers motivation, right? That is how you build motivation and get things done. Now, the second tip is a 2-minute rule, or you can call it the action trigger. I already kind of mentioned it in the first bullet point, but if you're someone who struggles to start a big task, then the 2-minute rule is exactly what you need. So the idea here is simple. Break your task down into something that is really, really easy, where you absolutely can't say no to it. Well, this strategy is from the book Atomic Habits by James Clear, where he did a research and he figured out that when people commit to tiny actions, they usually commit or continue far, far beyond that because they have overcome the biggest hurdle, which is starting. And again, this absolutely ties to the first point, right? So if you can break a task into a small micro goal, a small micro easy task where you do it for 2 minutes, it's going to build momentum and get you going. So figure out a way to break down your goals into small, tiny, little, easy goals. If you really struggle with motivation, if you struggle with actually getting started on big tasks, this is 100% what you want to do in order to build your motivation, in order to make progress in your side hustle. Now, the third tip here is identity-based habits. Truth is, we cannot stay motivated forever, right? Motivation is going to fade. That is part of life. But what sticks is identity. Now, if you want long-term motivation, you need to stop focusing on what you need to do and focus more on who you want to become. This has worked for me countless times, right? And I'm going to give you an example. Before I picked up the habit of reading, in my head, what I wanted to become is smart. I wanted to be knowledgeable. I wanted to be productive, right? Because I felt like all I did was Netflix and chill. There was really nothing that I could say I am doing for myself. I didn't feel like I was growing intellectually, right? Apart from my job. I wanted to be that person that invests in her personal growth. And that led me to start reading. And before you knew it, I lost interest in watching TV and I decided to read a book instead. And trust me, that habit stuck. Our research has shown that once people shift their mindsets from tasks, what they need to do, and focus on identity, who they want to become, they are more committed. So instead of saying, I need to write a blog post or I need to create content, go ahead and say, I am a content creator. And once you identify, right, in that identity, then you are motivated to actually become this person. Now, embracing an identity shift leads to long-term consistency, even when you lose motivation. So in order to build your motivation towards working on your side hustle, even with your full-time job, you need to reframe your habits. You need to reframe your identity, right? Rather than saying, I want to work on my side hustle, tell yourself, I am the kind of person who works on my dream daily and see the magic that happens. The last strategy in order to build your motivation is implementing a reward system. Now, your brain loves rewards, right? Like, who doesn't love rewards? So in order for you to build motivation, you need to gamify your process. If you implement a system for something, some tasks where you can gamify the process, trust me, your motivation is going to go through the roof. So you can use a visual tracker, right, to track your habits, to track your progress. And one tool you can use is Notion. Notion already has templates, free templates that you can use in order to start tracking your habits or tasks. And I think this is also a tip from Atomic Habits, if I'm not mistaken. But using reward stacking, which is simply pairing a task with something enjoyable, makes it very easy for you to get started. For example, I love drinking caramel latte, but I cannot drink that every single day or whenever I want, right? So what I do is I drink caramel latte when I go out of the house to a coffee shop to focus on deep work. Then I have the pleasure of drinking a caramel latte. So if I do not do my deep work, I do not get to drink a caramel latte. So I usually always look forward to my deep work sessions once a week because then I get to drink my favorite coffee. So that is what you call reward stacking. You can do this with your side hustle, right? You can see I always eat my favorite cookie when I'm writing content. So add a reward to your task to boost motivation. This will surely inspire you to work on your side project even when you do not feel like it. To sum it all up, motivation isn't something you wait for, it is something that you create. So by hacking your dopamine loop, using the 2-minute rule, shifting to identity-based habits, and gamifying your progress, you can 100% stay driven even on the tough days. So try one of these tips this week and let me know which one works for you in the comment section. So if you found this video helpful, please do not forget to subscribe, like, and share with a friend who needs a productivity boost. And check the link in the description box for a free guide on how to plan your week for success and get things done. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.